Good afternoon, everybody. How you doing? How you doing? It's me. It's me again. It's me again, Mitch. And here we are, Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock. It's going to be interesting to see what the attendance is like this afternoon. This is like the first weekend of the holiday weekend. Everybody's got Black Friday sales out there. People are starting to travel. I have a funny feeling we're going to be a little slow. I almost decided not to even do this afternoon and put it off till after the first of the year because it's going to be holidays. The weekends are going to be very distracting, and it's a lot of work to do these live streams. I didn't know if it'd be worth the effort, considering the fact that I do a live stream every morning and another one on Tuesday night and a private community live stream on Thursday. This Saturday afternoon one was my third live stream before I started the morning things. And that wasn't too much, but it's a load. It's a load, my friends. So let's see how this works out. Even Ellen couldn't be here today because she had things that she had to do this afternoon, and that's okay. That's okay. But everybody seems to be busy. Everybody seems to be doing something else. We got 40 people here. That's the usual suspects. Good to see you. Most of you, like me, have nothing much else to do. So, well, we'll keep each other occupied for a little while. Let's see how the Rumble. I've got 8 people on Rumble. I've got Mike Seeley Sr. in there. How you doing? Rod Weeder and Mike Seeley Jr. are in the Rumble chat now. 9 people over there. 44 over here. And let's just play it by ear this afternoon. If it gets slow, nothing to talk about, not a lot of chatting. I know Ellen usually fires up the chat and keeps you guys chatting, but we'll just call it early. No big deal. No big deal. If you have any questions for me, and we had some absolutely great questions this morning on the morning with coffee live stream. Great questions. And I love those questions that require some thinking, where I can give answers maybe a little different than you usually hear from everywhere else for those questions. Maybe something with a little insight into it. Maybe the reasons why these things are happening that you're asking about. And I look forward to that. I'm going to keep an eye on the chat as close as I can. If you have a question, put 3 capital Q's, Q, in the chat in front of your question. I'm going to start running down the chat where I can put you up on the screen, say hi to people. I know some people find that boring, but I have no agenda. Ellen kind of had something come up at the last minute. So, I mean, that's fine. That's okay. She's such a trooper, and really makes it a lot easier for me to do these things. But I told her, don't you ever. She has a couple little things she does to earn money. She has a little dog sitting business, and she lets herself be a test patient at a nursing school for assistant nurses. So that always comes first. Any opportunity she has to make a few bucks has got to come before this. And yet she still feels like she has to apologize. And I don't know if you're listening, Ellen, but no apologies necessary. And I wouldn't be surprised if she pops up in the chat, or even if something happens and we're still doing it, she will chime in, and I can bring her up on the screen. But I know she had 2 different jobs came up. And the reason she had these dog sitting jobs come up is probably the same reason why I don't expect a huge turnout today, and that is that those people with the dogs all found something to do on this first weekend of the holidays this year. So it's going to be universal, I think. So let me do this. The first thing I wanted to do, and I told Ellen that I would show this shirt off. If any of you haven't seen it yet, it's kind of cool. So I'm going to go over to this camera over here on the side, and I'm going to stand up so you can see my shirt. So you can see what the shirt says. Let me turn that way. It says, "Every day, thousands of innocent plants are killed by vegetarians. Help end the violence." And at the bottom it says, "Eat bacon." Yes, I love this shirt. I love this shirt. I wear it in public, and I get some tremendous chuckles if people actually take the time to read the entire shirt. Oh, yes. So, wanted to get that out of the way. I also am drinking coffee out of one of our new Morning Coffee with Mitch coffee mugs. And if you want to be cool like some of us, get yourself one of these. I mean, I got to plug these things. In fact, what I'm going to do right now, I want to put a link for that mug in the chat, because that's what Ellen usually does, and she's not here. So there it is. That's the link for the coffee mug if you think you might want one. And while I'm doing some crass commercials, I rely on your support. If you feel that you're gaining something from the work that I do, and I've set up this Buy Me a Coffee thing, always very much appreciated. They're all not huge, but boy, it does add up. So I'm going to put the link for that in the chat as well. And that way you don't have to go searching for the link. But the links for those things are all in the descriptions of my video. And that's about it, other than my Amazon stuff, which you all know about. And if you're shopping for the holidays and you go in through one of my links, it helps me out, especially if you want to buy one of those gadgets that I use, like the stuff I used in the video I put out today, the meat grinder that I used to grind up that pork. If you haven't seen it yet, that came out really cool. So, and it was delicious. God, I'd never had a pork burger, but it was very good and juicy. And I vacuum sealed all the rest of that leftover meat, threw it in the freezer. I've got 4 or 5 complete meals out of scraps that I trimmed off of ribs when I prepped them to cook. So free meals as far as I'm concerned, basically. Let me start saying hi to people. And let me scroll back. Wow, you guys never cease to disappoint me in the chatting. First one in today was Mike Seeley from Tampa. How you doing? Terry Sue was here. I never make weekend live streams. I want to, but usually I'm surrounded by other chaos. Yes, well, thanks for coming in early. You came in at 1 o'clock a couple hours ago. That's great. And we have Turamir Tukas here from Finland. How you doing? Saying hi to everybody. Boyd Lamb is here saying hi to Tuka. Good to see you. Wow. Sounds like you're doing great, Boyd. Sounds like you're doing great. And let's see. This was pre-show chatting. This was Sandy Blythe. She popped in to say hi early. Don Shonger is here. Hiya, Don. How you doing? And we have, that's Sandy Blythe again. Trucking Carnivores here. How you doing, my friend? From Alabama. Man, you never stand still. You never stand still. And Granny Boo too says good afternoon. Maria Kelly is here. How you doing? And Meatitudes. Hey, Meatitudes. First time making a Saturday live stream. Well, I hope this one won't disappoint you. I have a funny feeling it's not going to be as lively as they usually have been. In fact, I think we can all pretty well count on the fact that this may be the last Saturday afternoon live stream until after the holidays. If something comes up and I get indications that I really should do it, I'll of course let everybody know. But as far as I'm concerned, I've noticed even over the past couple Saturdays that the interest or the availability, let me put it that way, to these Saturday afternoon live streams has kind of been waning a little bit. And like I say, it's a lot of time, a lot of work to put them on, and I love to do it if it's meaningful to people. So it gets meaningful when you ask me the questions. Ask me the questions, and with the 7 live streams that I get every morning of the week, I seem to have plenty of time to answer questions. CB Carmack, good afternoon, long time no see. Hey, CB, how you doing? Listen, I looked at my informed delivery this morning. I didn't see anything in my P.O. box. You said you sent me something, and it said it was in Melbourne. After the stream here, I'm going to get in my car and ride over there and see if it isn't in there. But I didn't have a chance to do it before now. And this is Meatitudes. I wanted to put this one up, even though I've already said hi to you. Watched your video on cheating. My hubs and I have decided we are not going to cheat during the holidays. He hit a new minimum today, 305 pounds, down to, oh my God, down 259 pounds. Oh, man. Whoa, and the crowd cheers. That's great. That's great. That is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Wow. Probably don't hardly recognize him anymore, but that's so great to hear. That's the kind of stuff I like to hear. And everybody's commenting on that. Lori's Carnivore Story is here. How you doing? Good to see you. SM Smoothie with zeros. Smoothie 42. Good to see you, Smoothie. Afternoon, Mitch. Never saw that name before. Welcome. Welcome. Glad you wandered upon us this afternoon. And who haven't I said? Cindy Braddock. Cindy Braddock is here. Boyd's been bragging about his DEXA scan and how he's down to like 1% visceral fat. Yeah, makes a big difference. Makes a big difference. Satya, hi, sweetie. Satya calls us back for more. Yeah, I like that. That's great. That's great. Let me take a quick glance over there. No more activity. Got 5 people over there, Rumble. Yeah, going to be a slow one this afternoon. We'll see. William McCartney says, hi, everybody. How you doing? And Chris Swain. Chris Swain says, good morning. Looking for some people I haven't said hi to. And the same people are chatting back and forth, and we are just coming up on 3 p.m. now in the chat. Richard Williams from Copper Hill is here. How you doing? Always one of the usual suspects. Melinda Ann Yelverton. Hello from Phoenix. You're out there with Satya in Arizona. Good to see you. Thanks for coming. And here is Becca Mudtramp. Hey, Becca, about untrimmed brisket. I see so many different variations for macros. On average, what is typical fat percent to protein ratio? So many different nutrition labels. Yeah, I would say you could probably stick with the standard ratio or close to it for any fatty meat. And usually it depends if you're expressing the ratio in calories from fat or in weight of the fat. The ideal ratio by weight is 50-50, which equates to about 70-30 or so when you do it by calories. So if you're going to look at ratios, make sure whatever ratio you're looking at, you know whether it's a gram to gram ratio or a calorie to calorie ratio, because fat has a little more than twice the calories per gram that protein does. My philosophy is I just eat the meat, and all except for the really lean cuts have an acceptable ratio, as long as you don't render it all out when you're cooking. And then you can add some of it back in or pour some of that grease back on top of it. Lizzie's here. How you doing, Lizzie? Good to see you. And Aussie gal. There you go. Getting late at night for you. Or the middle of the day, or else first thing in the morning tomorrow morning, depending on where you are in Australia. Bear with me while I look for somebody new. Wow. Really? I like the fact that they put your names up in green when you're members of the private community, but I have a dark background and it's sometimes very hard to read these names. I can read them when I put them up on the screen like this. It's easy. Steve Studley is here. How you doing, Steve? Good to see you. And Peter declares, I'm here. Good to see you, Peter. Good to see you. Edward Renner. Edward Renner, welcome. Welcome, my friend. I don't know if I recognize that name, that if I see it a couple of times, I'll start to remember it. Looking for somebody new. Wow. You guys chat back and forth. Holy cow. Same people, same people. Lady June. So happy to catch a live stream and love the shirt. Yeah. I've said it many times. My kids buy me these wild shirts and they know, I guess they know my sense of humor and they certainly know my lifestyle. So they never fail to amaze me come my birthday or the holidays every year I get. And I'll have probably a whole slew of new ones after this year's holidays are over. And we're up to the point where I chimed in. Imagine that. Oh, that's the link for the t-shirt. Okay, I wasn't chiming in. I was doing a crash commercial message there. Boyd and Steve Studley, Aussie gal. Cindy Braddock. Lori Ribideau. How you doing, Lori? Good to see you. Good to see you. And rather than go down this entire list here, and I'm going to scroll quicker. If I haven't said hi to you, well, here we go. Sherry Morgan, how you doing, Sherry? Good to see you. I'm glad you could make it in today. Always good to see you, my friend. Out in California. I'm trying to pick out some names of people I haven't said hi to. Nikki W., how you doing? And Cher Peckham said, hi, Mitch. Hi, Cher. How you doing? Here's a question. Can we as carnivores eat too much salt, says Steve Studley. That's a good question. That's a very good question. I think you would have to eat an awful lot of salt. You'd have to eat an awful lot of salt to eat too much salt. You'll get rid of it. Your body regulates sodium in your blood very, very tightly. I did a whole dissertation on salt this morning on the live stream. And I talked all about it this morning, and I think it was such a good clip that I'm going to make a standalone video out of it, answering just that question. How do I know I'm getting the right amount of salt? Because that's a question that is often asked, and it's important. It's important. And the thrust of my explanation was, like everything else that involves our physiology, like everything else that regulates itself, it's not something we need to be consciously aware of. And I always compare humans to the rest of the animal kingdom that doesn't have that level of conscious thought that we do. And somehow they manage to get the right amount of everything they need because they get urges and instincts and cravings for things when their physiology, when their subconscious mind thinks they're running a little low on it. And that's pretty much the cause of all our behavior when it comes to food. Our quest for variety, all kinds of things come from our chemistry itself, our programming itself, telling us what we need. A good way to tell if you're getting enough salt is how the food tastes to you, because that's the mechanism through which we get an idea of what we need, an urge, a craving. We start thinking about something. Salt to taste. When you put food in your mouth, It's very evident to you whether it has not enough salt, whether it needs more salt, or it's way too salty. And that is your body telling you what it needs. And it prompts you without any conscious thinking, basically to grab the salt shaker and shake some salt on it. And most people don't make a conscious thought, say, oh, I'm getting a message from my subconscious and it's telling me it needs some more salt, so I better grab this salt shaker over here and put a little more salt on my food. No, you just reach for it's an unconscious thing. You reach for the salt shaker, you put a little salt, you take a taste. If it's not enough, you put a little more. If you overdo it, you say, oh, well, I put too much salt on it, but you're aware of it. And your body will tell you how much salt you need every time you eat and every time you put food in your mouth. And the more successful and the longer you do this, and the more you consciously try to pay attention to these unconscious signals that you're getting all the time. Oh, I need to go to the bathroom. Oh, I'm tired. I need to go to sleep. I'm hungry. I need to eat. Oh, I ate too much. I need to stop eating. These are all things, communications from your basic programming, your basic biology, trying to prompt you into action. And if you had no conscious mind, they would prompt you into action like they do every other living animal on the planet. So, can we carnivores eat too much salt? It would take an incredible conscious effort to eat so much food that was so salty you didn't like it. But yeah, we can. Whether we would, if we followed, our taste, no, we probably won't. And that's why when you start eating a ribeye and you're hungry, it tastes great. It tastes great. But after 24, 36, 48 ounces of that stuff, it starts tasting terrible. You push yourself away from the table. The thought of another bite makes you sick. Those are cues that your body's screaming, satiety, you've eaten enough. It's a good question. It's a very good question. I really go into a detailed explanation of that, and I'm going to make a standalone video. Probably won't release it right away, but next week probably I'll start putting some of them out. There were some great questions in the morning chat today, in the morning live stream. Just some great questions. And that was a good question. Lambs, how you doing, Lambs? Good to see you, my friend. Always good to see you. And who is this here? This is Meatitudes again, and AP has a question. AP, how you doing, AP? I have no idea if you're a boy or a girl. Question, hello from Alberta. What do you say when people get on your case about losing too much weight? I'm faced with this now that I'm down to my goal. Well, at 136 pounds, I get it too. 5'10", 136 pounds. Mitch, you're getting too skinny. My answer to them, because you'll never explain it to them, it's not even worth the time. It's not even worth the time. They're telling you you're too skinny because they know they're too fat, and it makes them feel better about themselves. Fact is, you're probably not too skinny. Probably, if you've been on carnivore and doing it right, you are probably at what your body thinks is your optimal weight. I'm sure you still have over 10% body fat, maybe even 15. And if you're a woman, you'll have even more than that. I have, even at my weight now, probably just a shade less than 15% body fat, which is perfect for me. It's enough fat to survive for quite a while if something should happen, if I should get an illness or get sick or something. Have to not eat for a while. I'm going to survive. I'm not that skinny. I am not emaciated. I don't look like I just came out of a camp or anything like that. But I'm thin now. I got thinner than I have ever been in my life since I was a kid. I love it. So when people tell me you're too skinny, I smile and I say, thank you. Thank you so much. I've been waiting my entire life to hear somebody say that to me, and just leave it at that. I think that's probably the least frustrating and Put a big smile on your face. And consider the source. Is this some 300-pounder telling you you're too skinny? Yeah. You might look back and go, well, yeah, you're too fat. And then run like hell. Oh, that's a good question, though. Hey, Mark Booz, how you doing, my friend? Good to see you from down in St. Lucie, Florida. I think I may have said hi to Lori before. AP, congrats. Yeah, congrats is right. If you're too skinny, congratulations. Congratulations. Okay, here's one that Metitude says, AP, I get the same comments. I just say I've been in maintenance for a couple months now. I like that. That's great. That's great. Yeah, you can always come up with some funny excuse, but I usually just say thank you and put a broad smile on my face. I've been waiting my whole life to hear somebody tell me that. Thank you. Thank you. You made my day. Thank you. I think it's hard to get too skinny on carnivore if you're eating enough food. And, you know, if you follow your hunger signals, you probably will, unless you got something wrong with you, and then you need to dig in and find out why. But I think you'll optimize your weight. There are a lot of people who are just emaciated. People that had been on a vegan diet for years and years and years that were skin and bones went on carnivore and gained quite a bit of weight back to their optimal weight. So it works both ways. It's not a weight loss diet. It's a health diet. And when you're healthy, when you're in good metabolic health, and you've kind of stabilized all your different digestive systems and metabolism, your body weight will find its own level. And the level it finds will be where your machinery is running at peak efficiency. And we have the programming to determine that. Everything is an action and reaction. Those are constantly, they're called like a servo mechanism. They're constantly being adjusted so that what comes in gives the desired result and levels of everything. And if you still have tons of energy like I do, then you're not too skinny, believe me, because you're burning fat. That means you're going to have a reservoir of fat, but your fat is not aging in the tank. Your fat is coming and going and coming and going. It's become more like a temporary storage place than a long-term warehouse. Good question. Aunt B, how you doing? Says hi to Boyd Lamb, and Sherry is in here saying hi to everybody. Don Schunger, I stopped at my daughter's last night. She offered me a plate of food and said, no, thank you. It looked good, but no cheating. That away, Don. That away. Everybody's still saying hi, but found a couple questions. Good. I'm going to keep going down here. I see that Sherry gave me a little super chat with a question, and I'll get to that, but I don't want to jump ahead because then I'll miss all this other stuff. But thank you so much, Sherry. Thank you so much. I heard my phone go ding a couple of times. I wonder what I got, what's going on here. Michael Seeley sent me an email, says he found other pics from the past. Yeah, send them to me. Send them to me. And, of course, Amazon is one of their 20 emails a day telling me about more hot Black Friday deals. I'm not concerned about any deals that have nothing to do with making carnivore easier. But they sure are promoting this thing. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Hey, look who's here. Ellen is here. Hi, Ellen. Miss being here with you. Well, sweetie, we miss you too. That's for sure. Be Matt. Hey, Matt. Howdy. How you doing? Good to see you. MM is here. Just got here. Well, we're getting some. We got 80 people now. And we have 6 over there in Rumble. Not a big day for Rumble, but I'm glad you guys probably tuned into both places. Toromir says, Mitch has psychic gifts. He saw in advance. Ellen pop in. Cool. Oh, yeah, I'm a psychic, all right. I think you got the last couple of letters. I've been called a psycho. Becca Mud Tramp again. I asked because I've got 1.5 pounds of untrimmed brisket in the crock pot right now. I wanted to make sure I'm getting enough fat. Try to stay 80-20 macros from calories. Yeah, that's a pretty high fat content, but you're not going to eat too much fat. You're not going to eat too much. A great deal of that fat will render out, and if you don't pour it on, you will have less fat than that anyway. So just go with what's in the meat. I think that if you try to micromanage this stuff, you just create a whole lot of work, and it all pretty much averages itself out if you just eat the foods that come the way they come in nature and focus on the fattier cuts of meat and fish. You'll be just fine. And use a little butter now and then if you think you're not getting enough fat. I'm looking at your picture in your little circle there. You don't look fat. You look young, too. Very unusual, unless that's not your picture. I keep on scrolling here. Where am I up to? I'm up to 322. So that means I am not too far, about 10 minutes behind. Okay. Aussie Gal says your weight can go up when you do carne because your bones strengthen, your muscles grow because of good nutrition. That's true, and you know how I always say one of my basic battle cries. Throw away the scale. If you're doing carnivore correctly, you should not have to give a second thought to your weight unless you have some kind of a problem, or you're on maybe some prescription drugs or something where a side effect like steroids would be weight gain. And in that case, you know what's causing it. But if you're getting healthy, and don't worry about it when you're first starting carnivore, you could be all over the place. It's meaningless, and it's not the goal. The goal that so many people miss of starting carnivore is to change your life, not just to drop some weight and then go back to the same old thing that got you there. It's to change your life. I think most people who go on it are only going on it because they need to drop 5 pounds by the summer so they look good in their bikini, or some lame reason that has nothing to do with their health. And they are not going to stick to it, and they are not going to succeed. Not going to succeed. And it requires not only changing what you eat, but your lifestyle as well. What you do for entertainment. So many things. It requires, I think, almost a much simpler life where you're just not always seeking out entertainment, because all of our entertainment revolves around food in one way or another. Boyd Lamb. Too skinny, says the dancing fat people. Oh, I was watching an ad today on the news this morning from a hospital here in Central Florida that wants you to be their patient. And they had all of their patients, all the people that we're talking about, were dancing. They were all partying. They were happy as hell. And I've noticed that seems to be the theme for so many of these advertisements these days. It's just dancing people. I'm sorry, folks. That's not what life is all about. Life is not about dancing all the time. But they think that evidently some psychologists said that conveys success and happiness if you're dancing. So they make everybody dance, including in the diabetes drug commercials, too. Ellen's still with us. And here it is. Sherry, thank you so much. Sherry says, thank you, Mitch, for creating this community. Would you consider a member friendship live stream on Wednesday? Wow, another live stream. I don't know why that would be. Are you talking about like Wednesday morning for my morning coffee live stream? Or because I don't do one on Wednesday now, but you can send me an email and kind of describe exactly what you had in mind. So, do that if you would. Listen, I'll consider anything, Sherry. You know that. I will consider anything. And thank you for the super chat. Thank you so much. They're worried you've got cancer, Lamb says. Me too. It's crazy. Yeah, they're so misled by everything out there. It's incredible what these people think. Well, I thought you had cancer. Yeah. No cancer. Sorry. I'm pretty well cancer proof now, as evidenced by my dermatologist and my skin cancer stuff. I told that story the other day. Decaf, by the way, folks, decaf. Lest you forget, I'm going to put the link to these coffee cups. You need one of these. They're cool. And I'm starting to get pictures from people holding their coffee cups, and they're on my website. I'm mixing up the T-shirt pictures and the coffee cup pictures. So I know I have a couple coming now, pictures coming, and I've got some up there already, and it's cool. And one of them, Jerry Voitush, actually sent me a picture wearing one of my T-shirts and holding my coffee cup. And Jerry's a great guy. I met Jerry he's from Jacksonville area in Florida, and I met him at the meetup we had here in Melbourne. And he's a great guy, and real member of the family. But that's funny. They're concerned you got cancer. Ellen asked a question. Do you think it's okay for the dog to eat goose poop? You didn't know, Ellen. You really had no idea. You were talking to the world's foremost authority on what kind of poop a dog can eat or not. You didn't know that, did you? I have no idea. All I can tell you is if the dog feels the urge or the need to eat that goose poop, it's not going to hurt him. It's not, there's something in that he smells or senses that something inside of that dog is saying, you should eat this. So I wouldn't worry about it. Might try to stop the dog and see how hard he fights you. But the harder he fights you to go eat that stuff, the more something in him says, we need that. We need what's in that, even if it is goose poop. That might rank as the funniest question I got today. I'm reading. I'm taking the time because it's not that busy here yet. Although we're running like, how many people we have? 83. Yeah, that's light. Saturday afternoons have been getting lighter traditionally. I think more and more people just find more and more things that they would like to be doing. I don't see anybody answering your goose poop question there, Ellen. I'm looking to see if anybody has some expertise on the matter, because I certainly don't. California Carnivore, how you doing? I'm gaining just a little going from keto to carnivore. Weight went down 1 inch in 60 days, though. Well, yes, absolutely. That's why the scale is not the greatest measure. You're better off with a tape measure, because you're going to be converting things. You're going to be losing fat and gaining muscle. And muscle weighs more than fat. So as you get more muscular, you might just gain a little weight, but you can tell by the tape measure. And it's a good thing that you're measuring yourself. And don't worry about the weight. Just let it do. You can tell by the way your clothes fit. Just look in the mirror. The weight will normalize. And whatever normal is, you have to be okay with that. Because if you try to intervene, lose weight faster, lose more weight than your body wants to lose. Maybe you're at a little stall. Your body is readjusting things. It's at trying to readjust its set point, tweak your metabolism. All you can do by interfering with those normal things is screw things up. Screw things up. Amiditudes, lamb's cancer proof now. Yes, yes. I was going to tell you about this. All my life, I've always, well, not all my life, but as I got older, I always had to go to the dermatologist for these little precancers. And then I got an actual melanoma on my nose that had to be surgically removed. And I go to the dermatologist every year now. I was going every 3 months after they removed the skin cancer to make sure that it hadn't spread anywhere or metastasized. And because if that had happened, I would have needed to have chemotherapy or some other kind of cancer treatment, which would have been very unpleasant. But I consider myself a cancer survivor now, and I think I can legitimately, since I did have a malignant melanoma on my nose. But since I started carnivore almost 2.5 years ago, and I've been back to the dermatologist a couple times, I have not had the first precancer on my head that he's had to freeze with that liquid nitrogen, where every time I went in there, even if it was every 3 months, he had to hit 4, 5, or 6 of those things with that liquid nitrogen. They stopped. They stopped. I consider myself somewhat cancer-proofed now. And with all the new stuff coming out from like Dr. Thomas Seyfried, they've discovered that cancer is more of a metabolic disorder than anything else. And that when you're on a very low sugar, very low carbohydrate diet, the cancers, most of them will either be knocked out by your immune system, or they'll be starved, or they won't even start in the first place because you won't have all the damage to the DNA in the cell from all this crap and poison that we're eating. So yeah, I think that you can be pretty confident that your odds of cancer, among other things, have gone down when you eat this way. And pardon the silence while I read here. Ellen is still here talking. And a question pops up. Small changes. Can you consume acacia gum on the carnivore diet, or fiber really serves no purpose if you eat carnivore? I would. Generally, when people ask questions like that, it means, and I'm not all real, I know what xanthan gum is, I know what it's used for. I would presume that acacia gum is the same thing, and they use it when they bake or make things like the keto pizza crust, or the keto bread, or the keto cookies, or whatever. And it is basically fiber. And because these things are fiber, they get away with murder because they can call them insoluble fiber. And then they really say, well, we don't have to count the carbs because they come up with these phony net carb things. And I'm assuming acacia gum is the same thing. But before I speak too far out of school, I'm going to do something that I do quite often, and that is, let's just see what Mr. Google has to say. Acacia gum. Gum arabic powder. That seems to be the common name for it. Healthy or not. Gum is GA exhibited anti-inflammatory, prebiotic, and antibacterial properties. Propaganda. The efficacy of gum arabic in managing disease. As a so-called study. WebMD says use uses side effects and more. Gum arabic is the gum that is exuded from certain trees, such as the Acacia Senegal tree. It's a source of dietary fiber that can dissolve in water. So is Metamucil, my friends. If it's only used as a fiber, and God, I'm looking at the shopping page here, and let me show you this. Let me just show you this. I'm looking at the shopping page, and obviously it's a highly promoted thing, and it's not cheap. Holy cow, this one costs $55 for this tub of it. And they even make liquid extracts of it. So why Acacia Senegal? Anyway, there's no shortage. There's no shortage of products being sold. Look at this. No shortage of people selling this stuff. And they basically say it's a fiber additive. One of the best things that I've enjoyed the most about carnivore is the fact that my bowels and my gut have healed completely from a lifetime of distress. A lifetime. And when I, at my age, say lifetime, it's generally as long or longer than most of your lifetimes. And I'm talking about 75 years. Because I'll be 78 in May, so 75 years of constipation, bloating, diverticulosis, hemorrhoids, every friggin' thing that could happen to ruin somebody's gut, just short of the Crohn and ulcerative colitis, inflammatory bowel diseases, that made me miserable all my life, and always chasing that, always plugged up, always eating crap like this, the Metamucil, because everybody said that's what you need more fiber, and more fiber just plugged me up even more. And then I had to resort to enormous amounts of laxatives to unblock me. I lived my whole life in that kind of misery until I stopped eating not a single gram of fiber. It didn't happen overnight, but my digestive system right now is absolutely perfect. 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 I go every 3-4 days, not a huge amount. I have no bloating ever, very little gas. I have no constipation, no diarrhea. Everything is just settled in. And as long as I just keep sticking to what I do, which is simple, just simple. Make sure and hope that I get the correct protein to fat ratio, which I'm pretty sure I'm getting. So if you're not looking to eat that stuff, small changes, as part of maybe a filler or a bulking agent in something you might want to bake, which is why they use xanthan gum. And I had bought that stuff too. When I finally decided to go carnivore, I filled up an entire trash can full of all of this so-called healthy stuff that I had bought to try to allow me to continue to feed my addiction and make low net carb versions of all the trash that had ruined my health all my life. And it wasn't until I gave all that up, went 0 carbs, 0 sugar, that the miracles and the changes started to happen. And it doesn't happen overnight. And more often than not, you're going to feel really crappy for the first few weeks or even up to a month. And that's normal. And that's where most people give up. Oh, I'm doing this diet to make me healthy. It's making me sick. This carnivore, it doesn't work. Yeah, okay. That's like you hire somebody to redecorate your house. The first thing they come in and do is demolish all the old shit. You take a look at them. Say, I hired you to fix my house, not wreck it. Get out. You never gave it a chance. You got to demolish the old ways that things happen before the new ways can catch on, and the period in between is going to be a mess, whether it's your health or your house, either way you look at it. So I don't know why you would want to eat that stuff. If you have a reason, put it in there. Maybe if I see it, I'll see it. I hope I do, because I'm trying to creep through the chat here. But I'm 20 minutes behind now, and whenever I stop to answer a question, I get a little further behind. But that's a good question, though. Carnivores eat no fiber. Like Bart Kay and some of the other so-called authorities, and I think he's an authority on things like this, he says the absolute minimum requirement for fiber on a carnivore diet is 0. 0. Don't need it. Same thing with sugar. Don't need a gram of sugar, regardless of what the vegans tell you. Here's a clear thinker. MM says, I never had a scale. Don't want one. And Becca Mudcam, yes, that's me, Mr. Mitch. Oh, thank you. Appreciate the compliment. Yeah, you are a young lady. Just trying to find my sweet spot as there's other issues involved. Okay. The way I keep it simple, Becca, the way I keep it simple is just eat it as nature packaged it. That's what our ancestors did. The cavemen who prospered, whose health prospered, even if I just saw an interesting video. It talked about the lifespan of our early human ancestors, and basically they have discovered through an awful lot of new archaeology and anthropology stuff, and actually analyzing the statistics that says, and analyzing all of the current hunter-gatherer tribes that most closely resemble the life and lifestyle of our ancient ancestors. People like the Inuit and the Aborigines in Australia, they found that the average lifespan was very short because most of them never, at least half of them died at birth, at childbirth. And so when they started looking at statistics that said the number of what's the average lifespan of people starting at the age of 20, there were people back then that lived just as long as we live now. But there were so many other things that we have modern medicine to fix now that they didn't. And chances are that each and every one of you, including me, if it not for modern medicine, antibiotics, a safer environment to live where we're not running away from big fat animals that want to kill us, none of us would be alive at age 77. I wouldn't be alive today. I look back at my life, and there were a number of things that happened to me. Had it not been for modern medicine to fix, I would have killed me. Would have killed me. But we have modern antibiotics. We have all kinds of things. We can fix broken bones, whereas the gangrene from a broken bone might have killed you back in the early days. So we're no healthier today. If anything, we're not as healthy as our ancient ancestors were. I truly believe that. It was a good video. It's a good video. If I think about it, I'll go back and find it and copy the link and let you guys know, because it was very, very, very interesting. But yeah, Becca, sounds like you're doing great. And I can only tell you one thing, young lady, and that is I wish that they had YouTube and carnivore talk when I was young, because it would have made so much sense to me, just like Atkins made so much sense to me back in the day, back in 1972 or 3, when he wrote his first book, and I immediately jumped on the low-carb bandwagon. Unfortunately, low-carb or not, it did nothing to cure my addictions, which is why I never truly succeeded until I found carnivore. And the carnivore cured the addiction. And that's how come I've been able to sustain this weight loss and this health for 2.5 years now with no cheating and no desire to cheat. And that is the key. I don't feel deprived. I always felt deprived when I was on a diet. Here's a question from Muyini. How you doing? Question, what shall I do? My BMI is now 19.5. Before carnivore, it was 21. How to gain weight? Maybe I got news for you, Muyini. My BMI is 19. My BMI is 19. Anybody tells you that's not healthy, you may have very thin bones. I'm very, very thin boned. I wouldn't worry about it. I would certainly not try to gain weight. If anything you want to try, just maybe eat a little bit more than you're eating now, but don't start eating the foods that'll make you fat, especially if you have any kind of addiction. Personally, like I say, I'm not a doctor. I don't know you. I don't know much about you. I don't know anything about you. But when you tell me your BMI is 19 and a half, obviously, I imagine you didn't have a DEXA scan. I imagine you have one of those weight loss scales. And they're only so accurate. That's a guess anyway. Your BMI could really be 21 if you're relying on one of those scales for that. So you go by what it says and take it with a grain of salt. But I would not consciously try to gain weight. I would continually eat the way you're eating, and if you feel great and you have a lot of energy and strength, then you're right where you should be. If you keep losing weight, yeah, maybe you're going to have to turn to some kind of a specialist or the medical community. There may be a metabolic problem there. Maybe a genetic problem. I don't know your history, but I wouldn't be concerned about hovering around 20 on the BMI scale. Most people would kill to have that in this world with their BMIs of 30, 35, 40, and more. My opinion, remember, everything I say on these streams is my opinion, not a recommendation, not a prescription. I go way out of my way not to prescribe not just anything, any substance, but not to prescribe actions either. I always consider the fact that I don't know any of you well enough to give you that level of advice and try to talk mostly in abstracts if I can. Hope you can apply those to yourself. It's, I think, the prudent thing to do. I think that even the doctors on YouTube go a little too far giving personal advice. And I don't think that's smart. And I think they don't think it's smart either. But that's why people throw so many super chats at them and go into their streams. They're looking for free medical advice, and you can't get any real medical advice from anybody that doesn't know you intimately. In my opinion, again, that's my opinion. For what it's worth. The S111 says, I guess dancing is supposed to convey celebrating. Yes, they're celebrating being fat and on medication. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, there's a whole movement. Big is beautiful. Haven't you heard? Don't you watch Lizzo, for God's sakes? So what if they die at 37 years old? You know, they're happy. They're happy. Question. Oh, that's the one is that the one? That's the one I just answered. Muyini. Yeah, okay. Okay. Some reason my chat scrolled up while I was talking. Mitch just created a word. Cancer proof. I have. And the California my rheumatologist said it was the most remarkable recovery from osteoporosis you have ever seen. Meat, baby. Yeah, it's a miracle, man. It couldn't be what you're doing, though. Couldn't be what you're doing. There's something, you know, it shouldn't have happened. They say, now I don't understand it because that can't happen. But it did happen, so there's something different about you. I wouldn't worry about it. Just keep doing what you're doing. Have you ever heard that from a doctor? Just keep doing what you're doing. I'm not going to tell my other patients to do what you're doing because you're a freak. You're a freak of nature, but if it works for you, you keep doing it. And that's the cop-out that the entire medical community uses when you are in their face enough with your success. And I can tell you right off the bat that I'm a prime example of somebody who constantly hears that from their doctors. My dermatologist, too. He's a vegetarian primarily. I keep telling him, eat meat, eat meat. And he looks at me like I've got 12 noses on my face. I say, yeah. I said, well, look at me. You've known me for 10 years. You knew me when I weighed over 200 pounds and had cancer all over, skin cancer growing everywhere all the time. And you had to keep freezing off. Look at me now. And his answer is, well, for some reason that works for you. Yeah, I'm a freak of nature. I'm not a human being. I'm actually an alien. I parked my flying saucer out in your parking lot. Took up 3 parking places. I hope you don't mind, Doc. Come on. These doctors, and my doctor actually knows I have a brain, and yet he still says things to me that insult my intelligence. But I just chalk it up to that's everybody in this world now. Oh, I got a text. What did I get? I got a text. I have to take a look at this. Who texted me? Who texted me? Not important. Not important. The reason I keep my phone, just so you know, the reason I keep my phone on, I'm basically on call 24/7. In my, I call it a real job because my real job is being retired. But for somebody who's retired, I work more than most people who actually work. But my real job is computer stuff, websites, graphics and things. And I do them for my daughter's company. She has a public relations company in Tampa. And I'm her main go-to for all of that stuff. And part of my job, part of what I do for her, is I've designed and maintained the websites for some large utility companies here in Florida. And those things are pretty well mission critical. So I'm pretty much on call 24/7. And something breaks, the website goes down, I'm there. I'm there. My response time to my clients in that realm is minutes, most cases. Because I can do that with the life that I lead. So that's why occasionally, if I get a text or something during a live stream, I just take a glance at it. I haven't had to actually say, well, folks, sorry, got to go. But I honor my commitment to these people, and I just don't shut that off. The only time I put my phone on do not disturb is when I sleep. But my daughter is whitelisted on that. So even though the phone's on do not disturb, if there's a message, a text, or a phone call from her, my phone will ring, wake me up. So that's why I'm not being rude is the point I'm trying to make here. Laura McDermott, how you doing? Hi, Mitch. It's blowing a hoolie here in Hampshire, United Kingdom. You look lovely as you are. Right mind, right weight. Thank you so much, Lorraine. Very kind of you. Very kind of you. I feel that way. Even though I'm an old fart, I feel that way. Boyd Lamb is laughing at Ellen's goose poop dilemma with the doggy. That's great. You guys, all of you have great senses of humor. Great senses of humor. Linda Price had a little advice for Muyini. Get through the adaptation phase first. You'll likely lose during it. Then add a bit more fat slowly. I eat the same amount each week. Yeah, it's good advice. Just if you're not adapted yet, don't worry about what's happening. But you should be fine. And if you're not, if you continually lose weight, like I said, you're going to need to consult somebody that can start doing some tests and find out exactly what it is, whether it's a hormonal issue, a thyroid issue, whatever it might be. Everybody's helping. Always good to see. Turamir, just wondering how low will the weight go naturally. It'll go however low it goes. You know the old saying people say, it is what it is. Well, it is what it is. It'll go wherever it goes, and wherever it goes is probably where it belongs. And it's not for us to make that decision for it. We make our decisions based on attractiveness and other things that aren't the biggest concern to the human human physiology. Although it is important for humans to be attractive, or they would never attract a mate. And that's a whole nother set of programming that we have, is why we're attracted sexually to different features, and why what some of us are attracted to are different from what other members of our species are attracted to. And there is a reason buried deep in you for all of that stuff. It's fascinating stuff to study. Lori says, yeah, the reason we're not coming to your live streams, Mitch, is that we're healing, we're getting active, and we don't have time for you anymore. I think that's what she said there. But that's what I read into it. But that's okay. Have a great life. I mean, that's the whole purpose. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Linda has an opinion on goose poo isn't bad per se, but it could have some of the bird-specific virus. It might be. And if a dog can contract bird flu, it may be a problem. But if the dog really wants it, and if it's that big-ass dog that you babysit, you're going to have a hard time keeping the dog away from it. That's a take that I wouldn't have thought of. Tormir. I'm just joining the chat with you guys, looking for the QQQs. I'm up to 3:43 in the chat. What time is it? I'm still about 20 minutes behind. Papa Carnivore, I put a community post yesterday after Peter sent me this Instant Pot $79 thing deal right now at Amazon, and I put a community post because that's like $50 off, and it's the one that I have, and it's a great unit. It's on my Amazon page on my website, my links to stuff I use page. If you've been wanting one of those, I doubt you'll find a better price than this. Here we go. Trucking Carnivore. What brand of salmon do you get? Looking for a brand that has the bones in it for collagen. Yeah, let me bring that up and I'll show you what I get. It's on Amazon. It's on my page, on my links to stuff I use page. And you go to my website, oldguycarnivore.com. Up here on the menu, it says links to stuff I use. You click on that. And then you go down here to food and pantry staples. Takes you down to here. And here I've got the ghee, the pork rind crumbs, the Redmond real salt, the Himalayan pink salt, the Malden smoked salt. I've got Wild Planet, wild anchovies and water. And this is the salmon I use over here. Wild Planet, wild pink salmon. Comes in a case of 12. It's like $84 a case. It was on sale I bought a case when it was down at $60-something. It has everything in it. Everything. Skin and bones. Sea salt. It has all the collagen in it. And when I make my salmon fillets out of it, I use all the liquid in there too and rely on the pork rind crumbs and egg that I mix in with that stuff to give it some body so you can shape it into a cake. I don't pour out the liquid. There's a lot of nutrition in that, a lot of great fats. It's wild caught. It's from Alaska. And not the cheapest stuff on the planet, but it's not all that expensive. $6-7 a can, if you buy it by the case, is not bad for a meal that should feed 2 average people, but not me. When I make a can full, I eat the entire thing. I make 4 big salmon cakes at one time. Great stuff, great flavor, and it's even got some of the tiny little vertebrae bones. You see them swimming around in there a little bit, but they're soft. And once you mush all that stuff up and fry it, you don't realize that you're eating all of that stuff. It's pretty well broken down. But good stuff. I can't imagine that it would get healthier than that. So I hope that answers that question. And I can only tell you that if you get it, I can't imagine why you wouldn't be as tickled with it as I am. And I have them about every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks. I love those salmon cakes, fried in bacon grease until they're crunchy on the outside, till they get good and golden brown on the outside, and they still stay moist and soft on the inside. They're absolutely delicious. The only thing I keep telling people, when you use the pork rind crumbs, there's plenty of salt in the pork rind crumbs. Don't add any more salt to that mixture. Don't add any more salt. You just simply don't need it. Aunt B, hi Aunt B, how you doing? Good to see you. Good to see you. And the chat keeps going. And Trucking Carnivore said he or she is driving. I imagine it's a he, but you never know. Driving, if I miss your comment, we'll read them later. Great. And AP has another question. Do you ever eat cheese? I have it once a week. No, I don't. But that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with cheese on a carnivore diet as long as it's high-fat cheese. You want to stay away from the skim cheeses. You want to stay away from all skim dairy. You want to eat, if you eat any dairy, it should be just high-fat. If you're going to, heavy whipping cream, butter, ghee, things like that, hard cheeses. And if you only eat it once a week, you probably don't succumb to one of the hazards of cheeses is it can be addictive. The casomorphines in it addict some people to it. And I don't know if I coined the phrase or somebody else did, but I call it cheese creep. You start out eating cheese once a week. Next thing you know, you're doing it twice a week. Then you're doing it every day. Then you're doing it twice a day. Next thing you know, you're consuming enormous amounts of cheese, which can't be too good for you on carnivore or any other diet. So nothing wrong with it. So many people on carnivore love to take a slice of cheddar and throw it on a hamburger. So instead of just having a plain burger patty, they have a burger patty with cheddar on it. Doesn't add any carbs to it or hurt it in any way. And as long as you don't suffer any kind of reactions to dairy, and some people do, and you don't get yourself addicted to it and find out you're eating more and more of it as time goes on, it's perfectly okay. Perfectly okay. Perusing the chat. Guys are talking about your parents, your grandparents. DS one of them, I heard Mitch say recently he keeps it simple. Food, fire, salt, eat. Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Juan is here from Chile. Says good afternoon to everybody. I know that because I speak at least that much Spanish. Buenas tardes a todos. Yes. Good afternoon to all. Good to see you, Juan. Good to see you, my friend. And Peter's spouting some tremendous wisdom here because he's mirroring something that I say all the time. I don't recommend trying to recreate the foods that caused our addictions to sugar and carbs, like pizza, bread, muffins, etc. Yeah, it's not just about what's in the food. It's the habit of looking at, smelling, handling, and biting and chewing food that looks like that. And then it won't take too long before your subconscious says, nice try. Nice try, bucko. Where the hell are the carbs? Don't tease me. Don't tease me. I'm smarter than that. You can't tease me by making me think I'm getting pizza when in reality it's cardboard that looks like pizza. And you will find yourself all of a sudden feeling the need and craving to actually hit the pizzeria up and have the real food. And that's why those things generally throw us off, because they even might taste close. But our physiology and our subconscious is much smarter than that. And the reason it threw the cravings at us is because for some reason it still thought it needed sugar. And it still thought it needed sugar because you've never been without it long enough for your brain to finally get the message, you're not going to be dead tomorrow if you don't get sugar in 2 hours. I've gone through the absolute reasons many, many, many times why it works that way, but the basic reason that it works that way is very, very simple. The basic reason that it works that way is we are hybrid. We run on 2 different kinds of fuel. We can't run on both of them at the same time. That's why down deep in every cell of our body, there's a process called the Randall cycle, which will allow your cell to be either a fat burner or a sugar burner, and it will not allow the other fuel in. Most of us are and have been sugar burners all of our life. As a machine, we store energy, like your car stores energy in its gas tank. We store energy in 2 different forms as well. We store fat and we store carbohydrates. Fat we store in fat cells, which are deposited pretty much everywhere in our body. And that's our preferred method of storage. It's the de facto and default method of storage. It has been our method of storing energy ever since life began, especially since genus Homo came around a couple million, 3 million years ago. And we have all of these pathways and mechanisms that will turn excess sugars into fat, because that is the way we're supposed to store energy. But we have places we store carbohydrates for quick use. It's like having a big freezer out in your garage full of food and a small freezer in your house to keep the food you're going to eat today and tomorrow. You know what I mean? It's not the freezer where you keep your main food supply, but it's something that's handier, it's available if you happen to need it. And that's what the sugar stores that we have. And we store sugar in our body in the form of what they call glycogen. And we have 2 places in our body that we can store it. Whereas with fat cells, we can store them anywhere. We can store them in our big toe, for God's sakes, in our earlobe. We can have fat cells anywhere, but we cannot store glycogen except in our muscles, because that's where it would be needed the quickest, like that freezer in your refrigerator, in your kitchen. You don't keep that in your bedroom. If you're going to need it, you want it close. By storing glycogen in our muscles, it's available for a quick burst of energy should we turn around and find out there's a bear right behind us and we need to run like hell. We don't have time to run out to the garage, go through the deep freeze to find what we need. It better be right there, better be handy. So we store the glycogen in our muscles, and we also store it in our liver, and that's it. And a full tank of glycogen for the human body. And this is the key. I have never heard anybody say this. I've never read it anywhere. It just dawned on me one day, because I keep saying, why? Why can't we live without sugar? Why are these cravings so bad? What's driving this? Now, I'm sure other people have thought of this, but and good ideas can pop up many places at the same time. It doesn't mean somebody stole it from, but I've never heard anybody put it this way. It just makes sense to me. So this is my theory, and if it's wrong, I'll take the blame for it. But here's the way I think it works. I think it works this way. Our subconscious is well aware of the fuel we have stored in our body. We are primarily sugar burners based on our dietary habits of the last 50, 60, 70 years. And from a subconscious or physiological level, we've pretty much forgot about burning fat, especially if we're carrying around tons of high insulin all the time, because insulin's job is to not allow the body to give up fat. And that's called fat storage mode. It's busy turning excess sugar into fat. It's got a one-way door. The fat cells do it. It lets triglycerides in, or free fatty acids in, but it won't let them out. There's a whole biochemistry thing about the fact that even triglycerides can't go into a fat cell. Believe it or not, when a triglyceride hits a fat cell, it has to be broken down into free fatty acids first, then it's allowed to pass into the fat cell, then it's reassembled as a triglyceride inside the fat cell. The shit that goes on in us every minute, every second, or every millisecond is incredible what's happening in our bodies. So we know deep down in our cellular memory, not just in our subconscious mind, but each of our cells has programming, it has its own DNA, as well as our mitochondria have its own DNA. We know at some basic level that if we don't get sugar and that's all we can burn, we're dead in a day. We constantly live with this paradigm of living on sugar, with an internal fear of only having less than a day of life left. And we are constantly in a state. This is, again, the way I think, this is how I think about it. We're constantly in a state of imminent panic. And that's why the urges to eat the sugar, the addiction, what we call an addiction, is so strong, because it's the most imminent survival threat, running out of gas. The same thing, believe it or not, happens to people who own electric cars. It's a great analogy. It's a great analogy. When you own an electric car and you go out, it's great if you're just driving around town and charge it up at home at night. But when when your battery runs dead, you're dead in the water. I'm sorry. You're just dead. You're dead. You're not going anywhere. These cars have a range of 200-300 miles. And if you don't find a charger somewhere along that route, if you're taking a long trip, you're just dead on the side of the road. Nothing you can do about it. Whereas if you have a gasoline car, you've got a tank full of gasoline and you pass 5,000 gas stations before you really need gas. There's nothing to worry about. If I get low on gas, I'll just buy some. But you can't find these chargers. They're so few and far between, especially if you're out in the middle of Texas somewhere or Wyoming. And then half the time your experience is when you finally find the charger and get to the charger, it's broken. Or it only puts out 1/10 of what it's supposed to, and you're going to have to sit there for 12 hours until your car gets charged. And that creates a condition in the owners of electric vehicles now called range anxiety. Range anxiety. Range anxiety means you never get to relax when you're driving. You're always looking at how many miles I got left, how many miles I got left. Where's the nearest charger? Where am I going to go? Am I going to make the charger? Am I cutting it too close? So your whole behavior patterns change. You find yourself stopping every hour to top off your charge because you're afraid you're going to end up out there in the middle of nowhere somewhere and run out of juice, and the car's going to be dead before you find a charger because they're so sparse. It's not a relaxing way to travel. Well, that's what our subconscious has in regards to sugar. Our subconscious is constantly trying to top off the sugar because it knows that in a short period of time, you're dead in the water without it. Even though you're carrying months and months worth of fat around, you can't get to it because your insulin is so high. Your fat cells are locked. That fat may as well be on somebody else's body, as useful as it is to you. So you're suffering range anxiety. I don't know if anybody else ever made that analogy. This may be a first, people, on the internet. The analogy between the way our brains work when we run on sugar and the way a driver of an electric car works when he's out on a long road trip in the middle of nowhere. stopping every hour to top off the battery charge so he can relax a little bit. And that's the reason we get these monster cravings. It's our body screaming, death is in it. Warning, Will Robinson. Bad things are going to happen because we can only store a maximum of 1 day. 1 day's worth of fuel as a sugar burner. And all that goes away when you become a fat burner. It goes away, but your subconscious takes longer than 1 day or a week to learn to relax that the threat isn't as imminent as we were used to. It takes about a month. That's why they say it takes a month to break a habit. It's how long it takes for your subconscious and all the programming in your body to finally gain the confidence that I guess we don't need that much sugar every minute of every day. We don't need to keep topping off that 1 day supply that we have. I guess somehow we'll manage to survive. And the urgency of having to top off your tank every 2 hours goes away. And the cravings go right with it, because that's what cravings are. They are screaming messages from your body telling you, you need this. And it does that primarily by making whatever this happens to be very pleasurable, because that's what motivates animals. Certainly it isn't pain, it's pleasure. And that's why it feels so good to stuff your face of all that stuff that we call comfort food. It's a vicious cycle we're in. The only way to break it is break it. Suffer through a couple of weeks of a rough transformation on your body, finally remembering that it can burn fat, allowing your insulin levels to drop to the point where the gates in your fat cells finally spring open like a horse race, and the fat can come out of the gate. That takes time, and the only way to do that is a technique that I found works, and I keep preaching, and that is to not let yourself get hungry, because the minute you get hungry, that panic is going to set in, and those carb urges are going to be overwhelming, and you have no control over them, and you're going to find yourself, like I always say, negotiating with yourself, coming up with a rationalization of why this one last time it's okay, and I'll start again tomorrow. And we've all been there. Nobody can doubt that doesn't happen all the time. And you need to just eat. But people don't want to just eat because they're worried about how much weight they might gain. And around and round and round we go, when the real answer is contrary to anything that might make sense to you based on your experience as a sugar burner, but makes the ultimate sense to me, having gone through it and seen the results. I can say with confidence to you guys, when you come out the other side of this thing, you'll be like me. You won't want that crap anymore. And it's not just me. There's thousands of people that have experienced the same thing, but maybe they don't know why. Maybe that's the difference. Maybe they don't know why. That's my strange, curious brain that always has to know why, because that's how I validate something. That's how I convince myself that it's true. If I can understand the complete and total why behind why it's happening, I can accept it, even though it goes contrary to what everybody else says. And I end up being viewed as crazy. It's not crazy. It all makes sense. And it has to make sense. And if it stops making sense, I'll be the first guy to admit, I'm wrong. I'm wrong. Figure out why I was wrong. Maybe try to figure out what the right answer might be and change on a dime if I have to. But I haven't changed my mind much on anything my entire life. I've come to terms with most of these things. So I've made that speech many times. I hope it sinks in. I hope it actually makes sense to you. And I hope, if nothing else, it spurs some thought of your own. And try to think of it in those kind of terms. Kind of think of it in those terms. I need a drink. San Pellegrino. This is the real stuff here. This is a new bottle that I just opened. A lot of times I use these bottles occasionally, just temporarily, to drink ice water out of. But for my live streams, nothing but the best, nothing but the genuine article. Wow. I don't know if I'm crazy about that stuff, but it's good. It's good. It's a little salty. It's got a lot of minerals in it. And it's bubbly. But it sounds fancy. San Pellegrino. Like champagne, maybe. All right, let's see. Booby Goats is here. How you doing, Booby? Good to see you. Everybody's still talking to each other. And B, I'm looking for questions. I see Sherry put another question up there. Here's one. Boyd Lamb. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Olga Carver, I find it interesting that we found a high-fat, medium-protein, zero-carb diet has proven to be effective in losing fat, but some preach a high-fat diet to gain weight. What say you? I think the people that preach a high-fat diet to gain weight are wrong. A high-fat diet will optimize your weight, I think. And how much higher fat can you eat than 80%? I know that for a long time, the Mayo Clinic in New York had an extreme diet for extremely obese people. I'm talking the 700, 800, 900,000 pounders. They hospitalized them. They put them on a diet of 100% fat. That was it. They lost tremendous weight. Tremendous weight. Now, if you're underweight, if you've been a vegan and you're scrawny as a concentration camp resident, yeah, fat would put weight on you. Of course it will. Anything will put weight on you at that point, as long as it's not a vegetable or a plant. But I don't. I would never preach that to anybody. I preach to a normal person who's overweight. They got that way by eating too many carbs, and they need to switch the carbs out for fat, and they'll go back to their normal weight, unless there's some special case. And I wouldn't know about that until I found the particulars out about that person. But you look at all the people on carnivore eating the high fat diets. They're all losing weight faster than they could ever lose it, and they're losing it without feeling deprived, resenting the fact that they're on the diet, feeling like they're missing out, and everybody else is having all the fun stuff in their face with all that addictive, sweet-tasting crap. Ellen answered that question, says it's possible if one eats enough. Yeah, but fat is the food that triggers satiety the most. So you start eating all that fat, you're going to get sick of it pretty quick, I would imagine. And we are talking about animal fat here. We're not talking about seed oils or any fat made out of polyester or something like that. Oh, Spanky's here. How you doing, Spanky? Good to see you. Good to see you. And it really is good to see that the amount of interaction you guys have, answering each other's questions, giving you your own opinions. Linda Price says, Boyd, for me, I was a vegan vegetarian prior, lost a ton of good weight, bone and muscle. Yeah, adding fat makes me gain, as it helps drive healing, thus bone density gain and muscle tissue gain. That would make some sense. If the weight you lost was not just fat, but other things, your bone density, your muscle. That does make sense. Juan is still in here. Touramir, DS111, Juan Manuel, Sherry Morgan is saying hi to everybody. Here we go, another question. Should I add more fat to get fat percentage? This is Touramir. Should I add more fat to get fat percentage down with time, down to 8 to 10%? It's now around 19%, which is too much. You're talking about body fat. Body fat, I guess. When you say get fat percentage, I imagine you're talking about your body fat percentage. Mine is right. My 8 to 10% is, I would think, an absolute minimum. I don't think if you're really going to be healthy, 8 to 10% body fat might be great if you want to enter bodybuilder competitions, want to look ripped and everything. But I think we have the ability to store fat for a reason. They say 15 to 20% is ideal for a man, and 20 to 25% is ideal for a woman. So I'm 13, 14, 15%, and I think that's healthy. And they also say the old, whoever they are, as if they were some authority, but you hear that as you get older, it's a little better for you to carry a little more fat than you did when you were younger. Maybe that's to survive some of these illnesses that you're bound to get when you get older. But if you're about 19% body fat now, you're probably at the upper range of what's considered normal or healthy, although the word normal is taken on all new meaning. I don't think you need to add any more fat. If you're losing weight, you'll lose weight. Just eat the 60 to 70% fat to protein ratio, and I would adjust that only by what happens in the bathroom, to tell you the truth. That's the best indicator of whether you're getting the correct amount of fat. Adding more fat than that, then now you're trying to micromanage and manipulate the functions in your body that do much better when you let them just work at the optimal range that they want to work, and just feed them. So I honestly don't know, Tuka, if I would say yes, that's a great idea, or no, that's a terrible idea, or I don't know. And that's the true answer to that. I honestly don't know if adding more fat to your diet would get you down to a lower body fat percentage ratio or not. And I don't know who does. You might just have to experiment with that if you think you want to, but I wouldn't worry too much about it. I would, just keep going. You're a young man. Just keep going. Let it settle where it wants to settle. My best guess. Smoothie says these doctors suck these days. They do update their knowledge. Yeah, if they updated their knowledge, they'd decrease their income, unfortunately. And they don't want to do that. Oh, this is so true. The California carnivore. I was a 50-year-old carb munching lifetime runner when they told me I was at extreme risk for a fracture. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm at 4 o'clock. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm 35 minutes behind in the chat. I'm going to need to try to catch up a little bit here. That's why I have an Ellen when she's here to stay way ahead of me to find these questions that I might never get to if I keep doing this. Spanky's got to run. Okay. And I know that Sherry put another super chat in there. I haven't gotten to that yet. Holy cow. Let me go through here. Ellen's still here. Laura McDermott, question, were you ever offered statin by a health professional? That question begs another question. When was I not offered a statin by a health professional? Would be a more accurate description of what I've been prescribed statins since they invented statins. My whole life. I even at one time, before I knew anything, took Lipitor for a couple months and I had a doctor way back then, I'm talking 40 years ago, I had a doctor that I trusted. I took Lipitor because I bought into this bullshit. He had me convinced I was going to clog up my arteries and have a heart attack, and you got to take this stuff. They didn't know anything back then, and they're going on that same misinformation today. I took the Lipitor for 2 or 3 months. The side effects were crippling. I had muscle pains you would not believe. I saw that that was one of the major side effects of statins. I said, well, doc, if I'm going to die, I'm going to die, but there's no way I can live with this kind of pain. And I stopped taking them and never took them since because I started studying. I started researching. I uncovered the whole fraud of Ansel Keys. This was long, long ago. I uncovered all of the data, all of the phony studies and everything that these drug companies used, the misleading way they presented statistics in their advertisements, like Lipitor lowers your risk of heart disease by 44%. Bullshit. Just watch one of David Diamond's videos. It is all statistical black magic. It doesn't do anything, in my estimation, more harm than good, and totally unnecessary. But I can't stand here and tell people to go against their doctor's orders. YouTube and the rest of the world would consider me a dangerous man. And if they didn't just ban me from YouTube, I would be perhaps arrested for crimes against humanity for saying that statins don't work or are more harm than good. So I'm not saying that. I'm telling you what I think. What you think is going to be based on your own research. Based on your own research. And for some reason, my chat just disappeared on a couple of the windows on my computer screen. My computer must be a little unhappy. But that's all right. I got that back. And now I need, oh, God, help me. All right. Were you ever offered statins? Yes, I was. Constantly. I will not take them. Here it is, Sherry Morgan. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. And they do pop up. I see the green right away in my chat. When somebody gives me a super chat, I have a window in another window that says fan funding, and it shows only those things. And that YouTube gives us that so that we don't miss those. That's how come the Ken Berries and all the other people can zero in on the questions that come on a super chat much easier than they can when somebody just types a question in a chat that contains, in his case, tens of thousands of entries. Sherry says, thank you for not pushing supplements. You put, I guess you meant to say, I bought exogenous ketones from Dr. Boz and didn't work. Appreciate your advice. Any supplements you do recommend? Just the basics, Sherry. Just the things that I think in this world are supposed to be in the food we eat and aren't. And that's basically electrolytes, some iodine. And because of the fact that I probably don't get as much, even though I live in Florida, get as much sunlight as I'm supposed to, and because I have lab tests that show that my vitamin D is at the lower end of what they consider the normal range, I do take some vitamin D too. With vitamin D with the K2, but that's all. That's all. I skip over all of these wonder supplements, the magic shit, the stuff that costs a fortune, that everybody's selling and earning a fortune on. They all got sponsors or supplements or sponsors. I get offers every week from these supplement companies, want me to sell this, that, and the other thing to my viewers. And I, not only don't I say no, I take those and I file them away in a folder in my email so that I can make fun of them someday if we ever really get talking about some of the strange things people wanted me to sell to you, and how much money I give up the opportunity by not running their ads. Not only do they pay you commissions when people buy those things, they pay you flat fees sometimes in the thousands of dollars just to make a video about it and put it out there on your channel. It's big business, this supplement industry. Big business. Some of these larger influencers are making millions of dollars pushing this crap, purporting to be just doing it for your health. I'm sorry. I can't do that. I won't do it. I hope that answers your question, and I appreciate the fact that you recognize that I'm not doing that kind of thing. I push my Amazon links because it doesn't affect anybody's health but helps me make a living. I ask people to buy me a coffee now and then, and I have some merch, some T-shirts and cups, and that's it. And that's it. And I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that. Tammy Petarch is here. How you doing, Tammy? Thanks again, Sherry. Tammy Petarch, good afternoon to all. Just in from a long day in windy Queens, New York. Queens. Queens is an interesting place. What a melting pot you guys got going on over there of virtually all of humanity crammed into a small place in New York. Tom says hi to you, Sherry. Tom says hi to you. Trucking Carnivore said, Roger that. Thank you. I guess that was for the question I answered. And I'm scrolling through them. I think it's time, since I got fit. Wow, got through the 2 hours today, man. I'm surprised. You guys kept me busy. But let me do this. Let me do this here. Let me bring up the chat and try to search through the chat. And all I've got here is probably the last. Because my chat window had an error and it disappeared on my screen, and I reloaded it, but I didn't get the entire chat. I got it over here in this window, but it takes so long to scroll through this. Maybe I better do it this way. Whoa, ka-ching, somebody bought me a coffee. Yes, thank you, whoever you were. Sherry Morgan. Sherry. Sherry is so sweet. Thank you so much. Bought me 5 coffees. Wow. Thank you so much for answering my questions. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Sherry. Thank you so much. It means a lot to me. And it's not just the money. It's the fact that somebody is actually thinking that I deserve some support. Thank you. Thank you so much, Sherry. But don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to guilt or shame anybody into not doing it. I don't expect people to do it. I don't expect people to do that. Maybe people can't afford it. Maybe people don't think about it. Maybe it's just not what they do. That's okay. I love you all. And I'll answer all your questions. They don't have to have money attached to them. But I'd be lying if I didn't say I appreciate the support, especially from those who actually get something from it. And I take my cue from one of the largest guys, not big, like heavy, but one of the largest drone channels, a fellow named Joshua Bardwell. He's a brilliant guy when it comes to drones. He's got the biggest following, the biggest live streams. He makes a hell of a living on YouTube, and he's got a huge, huge private community. And the way he puts it is this. He puts it, don't give me a thing, he says. Don't join the private community unless you think I've earned it. And I think that's a brilliant way to put it. And I should maybe start saying that as well. Unless you think I've earned it. I'm looking, same people. What time am I up to? 4:20. Oh, it caught up to 25 minutes. You know, the problem that I have is I start answering questions and I go off on these lecture-like answers, and it just takes up a lot of time where I'm not going through the chat anymore. That's why Ellen is such a great help to me, because she'll zero in on something that's really important. Okay, Ellen says, I'm ready to head out with dog number 2. So she's saying goodbye to everybody because she probably won't get back in time. You know, Tammy, Scooby, Lori, Tammy, Lambs, Tourmere, Tuca, DS111, you guys are chatting. And little encouragement from Michael Taylor. Go, Mitch, go. Thank you, Michael. Thank you so much. I'll call you young man because I see your picture there. You look like a young man. Again, I feel the need to keep talking, but I should just take and be quiet while I read till I see something worth talking about. Sandra McDonald says, my doctor scared the hell out of me a few days ago too, and I have the blood's paperwork to prove it. I always joke about my dermatologist. I love when he always gets a serious look on his face. He says, oh, I don't like the looks of that. I start laughing when he says that now because I always use it as an example. Jason Myers, thank you so much. He loves me on a Saturday afternoon in Brooklyn. Thank you. Thank you. Nice to be appreciated. Everybody's telling some great stories. And Senator McDowell, cholesterol dangerously high, triglycerides higher, uric acid up, kidney numbers are too high, and liver worse, but not as bad as kidney. Sheesh, I don't know. I would check into those numbers. If that's what your doctor told you, that doesn't mean it's that as bad as he's making out. It depends on your weight, on your metabolic health, and so many other things where those numbers are. The numbers for a healthy carnivore are going to be very dissimilar to the numbers for an unhealthy sugar burner. But it does require you to look in and try to get some advice from a carnivore or keto understanding doctor. And then if you got to do something about it, you have to do something about it. Maybe some medication would be in order. Maybe things just got too damaged. I don't know. I don't want to give you false hope, but on the other hand, I want to say don't panic before you actually have some facts and you know what it is you're panicking over. Uric acid levels are usually up. Kidney numbers are going to be a little off. I don't know what they're gauging your liver function by, but we can do a lot of damage to our bodies by this standard diet that we all eat. Living on sugar. We're not supposed to live on it. We're supposed to exist on it for short periods of time until the real food comes back. Question, Cat M. My husband got diagnosed a type 2 diabetic after losing all. I don't understand what he lost. After he lost all the weight? I would need a lot more information to know what the question really is there, Kat. Would need to know a hell of a lot about his history over at least the past few years to make any kind of a comment. Most often when you cut out sugar, you're not going to become a type 2 diabetic. I think we're far enough along to know that it is the carbs that actually cause that, unless, well, maybe he's a type 1 diabetic and was misdiagnosed. That's possible. You have a problem with your pancreas and it's not producing insulin. It can be mistaken as type 2 diabetes. I would imagine if a doctor doesn't understand basic metabolisms, the biology of it. But I can't comment, honest, I'm sorry, I can't comment on the question. I don't know what you were asking, really. Terry Sue's got it right. She says, we're at a point with doctors where we must do our own research on our ailment and have the doc prove us wrong. Yeah, that just pisses them. That just pisses them off. So many doctors are high and mighty and they They fire people too. They fire their patients. Well, if you're not going to listen to me, I don't want to see you as a patient anymore. Well, okay, doc. Maybe if you're not that busy, you could go back to school. No, wait. That's not where you learn the right stuff. Like, you watch YouTube videos, and here's the guys you should watch. Maybe then you'll learn something. Senator McDonald says the doctor doesn't think she needs to change her diet, but begged me to go back to the statins. I came from a long line of familiar heart failure. Yeah, but the cholesterol is not clogging your arteries. If anything, if this guy was up on all the latest science, he would have you going for NMRs, where they do a fractional analysis of your LDL, particle size, particle count, to find out if you're a pattern 1 or a pattern 2 with your high cholesterol. It's not even cholesterol that's high. It's lipoproteins. And that's what transports fat around your body when you're a fat burner. When you are a fat burner and not a sugar burner, of course you're going to have more LDL particles. You have to, or you die. You can't transport fat in the bloodstream. It does not dissolve in blood. Blood is aqueous. It is water soluble. Glucose dissolves in blood. Fat has to be transported through the blood in lipoproteins, which are not cholesterol. They're little boats, waterproof boats that encase the fat, and they themselves are water soluble and can float through the bloodstream and take that fat to every cell in your body where it's needed for fuel. And yes, of course, that explains why the cholesterol, the LDL level, will go up. But the measurements of LDL are done by weight. So do you have a gazillion tiny little damaged particles, or much fewer number of big, fluffy, harmless LDLs doing exactly what they're supposed to? They don't take into account the different types of fuel we burn and which type of metabolism you're running, a fat burning or a sugar burning. They got one answer for everything: LDL. LDL is not, they call it LDL-C, LDL cholesterol. There might be other shit in that LDL boat. There's all kinds of fat-soluble vitamins and things besides cholesterol. There might be triglycerides in there too. All that stuff has weight. It's a crazy paradigm that they've invented, and they seem to have settled into one number fits all. Oh, your cholesterol's high. You're a high risk for a heart attack. We need to raise your insurance rates. We need to give you this drug. It's bullshit. The only thing you can do for yourself these days is to learn the reality of it and arm yourself against these quacks and suggest they all go back to school. But the schools they went to are no better than they are. Not when Harvard University puts out a study that says red meat causes diabetes. God's sakes. That's been shown to be a fraud in so many ways. But their head of research happens to be vegan. Seventh-day Adventist, more than likely. What a surprise. What a surprise. So everybody's trying to diagnose Sandra. Not something I would do in a chat, guys. You can't possibly diagnose Sandra's problem. It's impossible to do. None of us know enough about her. Her doctors don't even know enough about her to diagnose her. Any advice you might give her might be wrong, and a guess on your part. She may take it seriously, thinking you know something, which is why I never give that advice. It would be smart not to give medical advice in any chat, mine or anybody else's, even if you were a doctor. But the doctors know better than that. Doctors know better than that. It's great to maybe make suggestions. It might be this, it might be that, but don't act like you know exactly what it is, because you may convince somebody that thinks you're that smart, and they might do it and kill themselves. I don't want to be responsible for that. I won't be. We're talking. Ellen is still here. I thought you were out walking the doggy. I'm using voice activation for a few minutes. Ellen's an addict. She's a chat addict. She can't help herself. That's great. That's great. I love it. I love it. There. Smoothie 42's got the idea. Supplement with beef. Yeah. There you go. There you go. And we're up to 4:46, and it's now 5 o'clock, my friends. So let me scroll real quick. Won't read anything. I'm almost caught up. I think I'm doing okay today. There's another question from Cat M. Oops, sorry, wasn't finished typing and wouldn't let me type as much as I wanted to. Okay, here's another thing. Oops, I keep hitting the submit button before I'm finished. I'll ask again in another chat. Okay, Cat, because I didn't get enough there to try to understand what your question was, but we will be here again, that's for sure. Not only every morning, but Tuesday night. And I may do it next Saturday if people come and keep asking me questions. I'll do it. And I have gotten myself down to the bottom of the chat. And CB Carmack is doing something very, very worthwhile, getting the smoker ready for huge ribeyes. Man, you know how to live, CB. Got to tell you, man, you know how to live. Lambs comes in and says, we need to stop testing and weighing, listen to our bodies, and trust our mirrors and clothing sizes for having all these benefits. Yes, sir, that is, or ma'am, again, I'm not sure, but that is distilling it down to its essence. Anyway, my friends, we made it to 5 o'clock. Holy cow, got through 2 hours somehow of nonstop talking here. I've enjoyed it. Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody. For those of you that came in, I will see you at 8:30 a.m. Eastern tomorrow morning. Ellen will be here with me. I don't imagine there's going to be too much dog walking in the morning, and we'll look forward to that. It'll probably be still a little chilly outside. Hopefully not as cold as it was out there this morning. So say goodbye to everybody in the chat for a minute. I will get some traveling music going on here. Some blues. I love this. Yeah. It's been fun. It's been fun. I'm going to go off and eat my second meal of the day. I ate my first meal of the day about 2 hours later than normal, so I wouldn't extend my eating window time too much. Bacon and eggs I had earlier. What a surprise. What a surprise. Thanks everybody again for coming. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed it and we all got something out of it. And until tomorrow morning, I'm going to do what I always do. I'm going to give you all the rest of the day off and suggest forcefully that you eat meat.